Would you like to support the Insiders? Pick up some merch now. Support us by getting a shirt, a hoodie. Support Abby's Window. Get a Shenanigans shirt. Whatever you'd like. Pick up some merch now. Insiders Pro Wrestling. The link is at the end of the video.
What's going on? I'm looking at the comments. I'm like, I guess I better be saying something. What's happening, everybody? It's a Sunday night, and you are here for Between the Ropes with the Insiders. One of our favorite things to do, which we just don't get enough time to do. Jeff's in a good mood. His team won today. Mine's being marched on the very first drive by the Giants, who are all the way down to like the 8-yard line, but
they just had a bad snap, though. And
they did. I saw that. So they're going to have to go for a field goal here because they lost the ball. But in any case, Derek, I don't want to hear any lip from you. You're a lousy Atlanta fan who's never won a damn thing. The best your team that could say that they did was, have that comeback against, what was it? Oh, no, actually, no, wait, you lost in that comeback. If it was anybody else, if you liked any other team, maybe I can give you credence. But come on, man. You're an Atlanta fan. Come on, man. I don't know. They may lose. Look, this is just a weird day for football. And, Jeff, if you watch some of it, there was a lot of rain out there and a lot of storms. And it's just very weird days. Like Cincinnati got destroyed. Burrow looked terrible. A lot of these games, they had to run the ball because it was so wet everywhere. I'm sure Giant Stadium is probably the same. I haven't even watched any of it, so I don't know. But just a very weird start to a season. And it's always, if you're a football fan, the offenses are always behind the defenses. The offenses don't start catching on for a couple of weeks.
Yep. Your Cowboys just scored on a blocked field goal.
Did they really? You're right. Yeah, I see that.
They did.
Well, that turned bad into good. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So you got you had the Giants offense just matriculating down the field, and then they come up with a stop and
turned bad into good.
Not so good on the extra point though, Joe.
Did they miss? Oh my God, them and kickers, man. They have this kid now out of college, or no, I think he was a soccer player or something like that. They can never get the kicker right. Can never, ever get – they've been signed like Robbie Gould or something, somebody that's out there. I'm just teasing, Derek. I love you. It's all love from here. No comment from the Bengals. Yeah, they looked horrible, dude.
Ooh,
But
that was a
again,
rough one.
Burrow didn't look good at all. Like he was going out on the sideline and watched some of it. It was favoring his leg and stuff like that. He didn't look good. So yeah, don't spoil the scores though, because I probably will watch it later. So yeah, don't spoil the score for me because I'll probably watch it as we go. But anyway, yeah, NFL football. A couple of quick things. One, um, we of course won't be with you tomorrow, and thus we will say, obviously, the hashtag, of course, is never forget. 9/11 will. I'll never forget my where I was, and my wife has family that are from New York, and just a horrible, horrible day in the history of our country. And whenever this comes around, you can't help but go back and you think, I, being a geek fan of comic books and stuff like that, I go back to a Spider-Man book that was written for 9/11. Whenever whenever we had this, and just a tremendously heartfelt piece that was written by Brian Michael Bendis. I want to say, I'm not 100% sure, but these guys were in the Marvel offices when it happened, and they were blocks away from where it took place. So and I say this every year, but obviously prayers and everything we can to anyone who's lost loved ones from that, and also to the amazing the policemen, the firemen, the medical teams, everybody who pitched in and worked night and day through all that. Just incredible. And say what you will about, and sometimes people have harsh things to say about New York City, but they came together that day. And
Mhm.
it was, from a horrible, horrible tragedy to see what they did was just simply heartbreaking and yet amazing all at the same time. So, but again, yeah, never forget. And I won't, Jeff. I could tell you the time, where I was, what I was doing. I was working at Radio Shack as a manager at the time, and we were in a meeting, and we came out and we saw what was going on TV, and then our DM told us to go back to our stores, and we did. And as I was driving in the car, I'm listening to Howard Stern, and he's kind of narrating it, and it was just like unbelievable. When I got to my store, no one knew what to do, because when you heard about the first plane, and you heard about the thing in Pittsburgh, and you heard about the thing in Washington, it was like we didn't know what to do. We thought we were being attacked. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a nuclear plant not that far from me, so everybody was on edge about that. We had no idea. And so I remember being in my store in the mall. We're in a mall, and the mall was barren, like no one there. Everybody probably shut in their homes and stuff like that. But I'll never forget it, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I won't either. And I think, to speak to your points about people coming together, I think, oftentimes in tragedy, we get to see the beauty in humanity. And when that happened, it brought everyone together unlike ever before. Um, I mean, you had people that were, just asking how others were doing. Something as simple as that, checking in on people. And it's unfortunate that it takes tragedy oftentimes to bring people together. But yeah, I mean, just in terms of just a moment being seared into your memory, um, that's definitely one. I mean, I can remember being in a class and hearing people down the hallway saying, turn on the TV." And yeah, I mean, I mean, honestly, you didn't know what to think, and nothing had ever happened like that here,
No, no,
and so it was a weird place to be in. It was surreal for a while, and um, Yeah, and then you had all of the tributes that
Mhm.
week and after, which were very emotional. Um, so yeah, it was just I can't believe. I mean, it's crazy to think of how long it's been.
It is.
Feels
Yeah.
like it was just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
I'll show you a comic panel. It'll be hard to see because of the green screen, but you could see there, Spider-Man, obviously the superhero from New York, and there's a scene where Cap is looking at the rubble, the wreckage, and Spider-Man's just standing next to him. And what it says in the caption is, he's the only one who could know because he's been there before. Captain America obviously been through like the world wars and stuff, and then Spider-Man says in the other panel, "I wish I had not lived to see this once." So very, very moving book. If you haven't ever seen it, look it up. I don't know how, but the writer I remember reading, and he said that's all he could do to cope was to put that book out. And normally they would have said we're not doing anything after this, but he felt that the need to do it. But yeah, it's just like I said, and it is the hashtag never forget, and you won't. The people who live through it just won't. And it was just like Jeff said, nothing ever. I remember hearing stories of my parents, and I'm sure Jeff would probably attest to this too, talking about during the times during the World Wars when they
yeah.
would have the air raid sirens going off. They would have to hide in their basements and stuff like that because you just never
Mhm.
knew. They didn't know at the time that planes couldn't get that far, right? They didn't know at the time that they got to Florida, of course, for at Pearl Harbor, but to get certain places, nobody knew that. But and so when things would go over, they put those air raid signs on and thinking everybody be hiding. So when she would tell me that story, that was kind of the closest that this came to us. But it's man, oh man, just when the day comes around,
Yeah,
it brings up stuff. So
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
And really quickly, okay, let me say hello to some people here. We got James Grant, we got John G, we got Brandon. Hello, hello. Of course, Derek. Love you, Derek. We have Anthony Slade, a member of our channel, Jeremy as well. Welcome to the members and appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Jason Stoffer, of course. I just saw you as well. So appreciate you. Yes, Jeff's Bucks did win today. So yeah, absolutely.
You
Place to
know
be on a
what? I'm
Sunday night.
okay. I'm okay with saying that I was a little too soon with
The
um
doom and gloom.
my doom and gloom. It taught me a lesson. And I'm gonna say this, and was it a pretty game? No. Games don't have to be pretty as long as you have one more point than the other team at
Wins a
the end of
win.
the game. A win is a win. So, I think sometimes we get lost in the numbers, we get lost in the flashy performances. But
Mhm.
if you've got a guy that just wins, that can just get it done, that can make the plays at the right time,
Yep.
that's all that really matters. And I know people for years have kind of criticized Kirk Cousins, but you know what? The dude wins. That
Yeah. The
so
Vikings win
maybe
games, man. They're a good team.
yeah. So
And
maybe
Jefferson, dude. Jefferson's
he's
amazing.
unreal. He's
Amazing.
unreal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's a
yeah,
big
so
win.
maybe Baker can do that in this part of his career. Who knows?
Yeah. That's a big win. That's against a playoff team. That's a big win. They had like the second best record in the league in
Yeah,
the NFC last year. So yeah, it's a
yeah.
big win, man. Can I just check no 1000th episode spoilers? Good. Yeah, good, man. Listen, you'll appreciate it on Thursday. I haven't looked either at one thing, and they're out there. I can tell you, I know they are because the people are there. They recorded it, so yeah, definitely do that if you're going to come out and watch Impact 1000, which I would say. Listen. I know a lot of you guys are WWE guys and gals. You should really come out and watch it. It is a celebration of wrestling, man. And like Scott Demore said, how many wrestling shows or how many shows, period, have ever had 1,000 episodes? It doesn't happen. That's more than The Simpsons. That's more than MASH. It's
That's
more than,
crazy. That's
it
crazy
is.
to think how long the Simpsons have been
It's
on,
insane.
and that's insane.
It is, man. So you really should come out. It's going to be a fun time. There's nothing happening WWE wise on Thursday anyway, so you should come out and just check out the stream. It's going to be so much fun. There's going to be a lot of history, a lot of nostalgia, a lot of people there that we haven't seen in a while. Awesome Kong, Gail Kim, the Dudley Boys are reuniting. It's going to be awesome. So any wrestling fan, I would suggest to come out. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you can watch it very cheaply on their YouTube channel, 99 cents, $1. You can't even get a soda for that. So come out and check it out on Thursday. It's going to be awesome. C Wrestling, thanks so much, dude. That means a lot. The very best Sunday wrestling podcast. Hello, Insiders. Hello, C. How are you doing? Hope you're well. Barry Monkey from Twitch is here. James Grant is here. DJB Tazzy is here. I was talking to Tazzy a little bit via text earlier. Tazzy's keep an eye on it. Tazzy channel, changing some things up a little bit. Always good to do. Sometimes in this thing that we do, you gotta change up things a little bit sometimes to move forward. It gets stagnant. You're out there and you're doing the thing, and sometimes a lot of other people are doing the thing, and you just have to make some decisions maybe sometimes to change things up. So check that out from Tazzy, coming soon. Johnny Bates is here. Johnny Bates is in a Mr. Kennedy mood lately. Let's see. Brandon Sandman is here. Bonus Baby is here. What's up with you? Hello, Mark. How are you? I've been sick. Yeah, a lot of people are getting sick lately. It's that time of the year. John G. Alicia's here. Hello, Alicia. Dylan is here as well. Brandon, Alexa Bliss Gamer 0809. I'm going to be a nervous wreck watching the Bills game. It's all good. Listen, it's early in the season. One loss isn't going to kill you. Your team's not going to go undefeated. It happened once in the NFL. So it's early on. And like I said, the offenses are always behind the defenses because the offenses just don't practice. They don't play in preseason at all anymore. So the defenses are going to be good. Offenses need a little bit to get into key. And you know what? When you look and see that the teams that have won championships lately, they get hot down the stretch. They're hot like going into November and December, and that's what you need to be. So listen, the Super Bowl champs look terrible. Kansas City look bad. So listen, it's one game. Michael King, hello to you. Thousands of planes in the sky, millions of cars on the roads. Our security forces have to win every time. Terrorists just need to get lucky once. It's a testament to those that defend us that attacks are so very rare. That's true. Yeah, good point. Greg Felty is here. And Derek said the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, I was 5. That was what, 95? 2005. Yeah, 95. I was a lot younger. Yeah. Yes. So, and then the one other little piece of news. I don't know if you've heard or not. I just saw it on Twitter, but Matt Riddle has filed I believe it's a complaint against the New York City Police Department for sexual harassment, of all things, in an airport. Claiming he was harassed by an NYCPD officer. So I don't exactly know. I know that they did, that the complaint has been filed. It was lodged and filed. That's all I know so far. So I don't know what happened with that, but he did put a post up about it. So you can go look at that. But yeah, that just came out today as well. So a little bit, it's a little strange of a thing to happen, but that's a horrible thing that, of course, he had to live through. And I'm sure, we'll hear more about it in the future as things go. Weston Tanay getting into Hall of Fame. I know it's so cool. Jeff just wrote that in the comments, and another one of the awesome things I can't wait to see. Tears will be shed, I'm sure, but it's going to be a wonderful moment for them as well. So yeah, just another part of that awesome show. And like I said, it's history, and you really should come out and see it. I think it'll be really, really good. Okay. All that said, so as far as us, nothing tomorrow. And then we'll be back on Thursday, of course, for that Impact 1000. So that'll be the next time we see you guys. So make sure you come out for that. It's going to be a party. It's going to be a celebration. It's going to be an awesome night of wrestling. So join us for that on Thursday. Of course, our normal start time at 7:45 p.m. Eastern time. Unless we see during the course of the week that they're going to do something more beforehand. Like I know they usually do BTI, but maybe they won't. If we see something changes, we might make it 7:30. We'll see. So just keep an eye on the Twitter and stuff, and we'll let you know. All right, let's get into it. We have a lot to talk about, Jeff. So what are we going to start out with tonight?
So we're going to start out with the news, and we'll start with Impact Wrestling. We just watched Victory Road, so yeah, it was a good night, interesting night, and like the person said a little bit earlier, Brandon, we got some Hall of Fame announcements, so pretty good night.
Yeah, Victory Road was a lot of fun. We saw some cool happenings there. You could see, man, how cool is it to see Tommy Dreamer get a title? No matter, it's a digital media championship. It was just cool to see. Honestly, we were shocked. Jeff and I didn't think he'd win this, and thinking that this would be his last match. It was a retirement match for him. Had he lost to Kenny King, he would have been retired. But he ended up winning, thanks to Heath, of course, who came in and made made sure that he would. But listen, when a legend takes a title or something like that, it's not going to be forever. And it is probably a last go round for him. So, I always love Dreamer. If not for Tommy, we wouldn't have a lot of things we have today. A lot of these matches that you see that are, AEW with the death matches and the blood and guts and gore and even stuff, some of the stuff that Impact, of course, does in Sami Callihan and anything you see that has a little more violent stuff in it. Tommy Dreamer probably, he's the originator of violence. That's his name. And that's what he's known for. And ECW wouldn't have been what it was without him. He is a legend of the business. And so to see him win, and he got to do it in front of his family, which is also very cool as well. Because, when you're that age, and Tommy's a bit beat up, and he's the first one to say that. And at that age, to be able to get a chance to do that in front of your family, it's pretty special. And I was pretty happy for him. And then, of course, Trinity retaining, of course, against Alicia. Trinity just rolling on, man. And she has been an amazing champion in Impact. It's going to be tough to stop her. I don't know who's going to be up next for her, but I mean, maybe Jordan Grace, who we saw come back and have a big match with Deanna, which would be an incredible match. Or maybe there's some other people out there, but Trinity is just absolutely killing it. Found a home in Impact Wrestling and really, really doing an amazing job there. And so many other cool things that we got to witness. Of course, MK Ultra retaining their tag team championships. We saw an amazing X Division match to start the show. Of course, Kushida and Leo Rush, and Leo Rush retaining with a little bit of cheating, of course.
A little bit.
The Rascals as well retaining due to a little bit of paint, little bit of spray paint.
A little bit, just a tad.
Yeah. So, and then the main event, man, Josh Alexander and Macklin. Good Lord, these guys could fight every day, and I would never get bored of it. And Macklin, on his Twitter, put that out there. He said, "We're not done, man. We're not done." And I fully believe that. They are just incredible in the ring together, and like I said, they're just amazing, and the chemistry they have is amazing. It's like old school heel and face. When you get those old school rivalries, and I'm sure this one will continue. But Victory Road was a hell of a lot of fun, and again, just another reason, Jeff, why people should really be giving Impact a chance if they're not already. It's just. And I know it sounds like a broken record, but it's so much fun to watch. It's such a drama-free thing to watch that sometimes you just need that. I know people get away from it for a while because the drama that's out there in wrestling sometimes just too much. And but it's really just kind of the opposite of that. And it's a really fun show to watch, Jeff.
It really is. And, it's we don't just say that because we have a watch along for it.
Correct.
We say that because it's true. It really is pretty low drama, just a fun experience,
Yep.
just a fun, different things for everyone. There's something for everyone. If you like the comedic stuff, you got it. If you love awesome matches, hard hitting matches, you got that. If you
Yep.
like to see some high flying stuff, they've got that too. If you love good tag team wrestling, that's there. Um, and if you love women's wrestling, we've said what we've said about the Knockouts division, so um, we don't need to keep repeating that, but it's great. So just give it a chance, give it an opportunity, see what happens, because I think you'd like it. I really do.
Comes back to remember the Mikey commercials. Look
Yeah,
at Mikey, he likes it.
he likes it.
Try it, you might
So,
like it. It's
I
yeah.
was thinking about something too when you were bringing up Victory Road. We saw something brand new last week. Um, and I'm pretty sure it's probably going to make one of your favorite moments of the week. Um, I don't want to give it away, but it's something that's pretty awesome that we witnessed. Bit of a
You might need
transformational.
to message and remind me because I probably already forgotten because my mind is horrible.
Oh, you didn't forget it.
Oh,
Hold
I
on,
don't know. I'm
I'm
trying to
sending you a private message right now.
at Victory Road now
Well, we
or
saw a
last
little
week.
bit more of it, but last week,
Okay.
I just
Oh, I know. Never mind.
yeah, yeah.
Boom. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So good. Yeah, that's definitely gonna be that's up there. If not, it could be my favorite. Yeah, you're right. And look, you I know what Jeff is talking about now, and I'm not gonna spoil it for later, but this particular person doing what he's doing now is so much needed right now. That's all I'll say, and I'll leave it at that. So segue into later on.
Yep.
But yes, oh my God, so good, so good. Bonus Baby says the only drama and impact is the storylines. Well, in Matthew too, he is the drama king. That's true, right?
That's
Matthew
true.
Riddle. Yes, very
That's
good.
true.
All right, so there you go. What's up next, Jeff?
All right, so we go from you know Trinity's reign and Dreamer's new reign to a reign that was historic.
Oh
Um, Gunther breaks the record for the IC title.
man, dude, I loved how they did this. All of the classic IC. Here's there's a couple of reasons why I like this so much. Number one, before Gunther got this title, it really lost its luster. There were a lot of people out there even wondering if they would get rid of this title, period, not even have it anymore. This title is so full of history, and you got to see that. Just the pictures of the men that they showed that had this belt was incredible. The Magnificent Morocco, who I will always remember as one of my most hated heels ever. I hated this dude. Couldn't wait for him to lose, and he won every damn match I saw him wrestle, it seems like. And I hated him, but he was such a good heel. And then so many more who held this title over these years. And it really got back to the esteem that it should have with Gunther having this honky tonk man, of course, too, was the guy he beat out. And again, another guy who it almost seems like the people who had this, but at least back in the 80s and stuff like that, were a lot of times the heels. And man, did I hate these dudes. I wanted to see people beat them. Like Rocky Johnson had a match with Honky Tonk at one point in time. I wanted to see Rocky Johnson win because I love the dude. But this is such a historic title, and it deserves this reverence. And I'll tell you, the setup they did with this, for obviously, for Chad Gable, in his hometown, had his wife and children there, which had to be one of the most amazing moments of his career. we can all say Chad Gable kind of almost been an afterthought. He hasn't really been in any sort of he was in a lot of goofy things over the years, and it was and yeah, he was doing the tag team thing with Otis for a little while, but he never really got any sort of recognition in singles matches. Well, this really put Chad Gable over, and I know he lost, but the match going back and forth was so good that you didn't know. There were times when I didn't think he would. Now, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, this is easy to predict. There's no way they're going to take that from Gunther when he can make history. But it seemed a few times like he was going to lose. And that's how you have to do this. And they did it so well. I mean, my gosh, Chad Gable's daughter's crying her eyes out. And they don't understand. They're younger kids. They don't know. Like, all they can see is their dad lost. But tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. Was really, really well done. And I hope Chad gets another shot, and maybe he will be the one to take it away from Gunther. Gunther is going to go on to bigger and better things. Gunther is going to be involved in a main title picture at some point against someone. We may have gotten that tease. If Cody Rhodes ends up with that title, we saw that happen, right? The end of the Rumble was Cody and Gunther. We saw them go at it. It would be a hell of a program. Or even if Seth Rollins still has the title and Gunther goes after Seth too, would be another great matchup. So that is good. Hell, I would love to see him against Roman Reigns, which would also be amazing. So either way, Gunther is on the way up, no doubt on the way up. But that program was just tremendous. They did it so well. Kudos to WWE for bringing back what, honestly, a lot of people, Jeff, thought was a dead title.
Yeah, I mean, and James Grant said something. So I asked a question to James, and I'm going to ask everyone. James Grant said, we must acknowledge the ring general Gunther as the greatest IC champion ever. My question in response to that was, is he your top champ ever, James? Give me your top three. So I want to hear people's top three IC champs of all time. I definitely think that he deserves to be pretty high on that list.
Yeah.
What he's done for the title, I think, is tremendous, like you said, because honestly, for a while, WWE hadn't done a good job with their quote unquote secondary titles. I don't like calling any title secondary, but they hadn't done a good job with that. And then they started really pushing the United States Championship, and they started pushing an IC title with Gunther. So I think he's been on an incredible run, obviously. I don't think I've seen many people complain about his run, which is also very unique in today's time and age. So, I mean, he's up there for me. James Grant saying Gunther, Honky Tonk Man, and Chris Jericho, top three IC champions on his list.
Jeff, okay. I'll throw out one.
Okay, go ahead.
Pedro Morales. Tremendous. I loved him. He was I got to watch him when I was pretty young, so late 70s, early 80s, through that time. Loved Pedro Morales. And yeah, somebody mentioned Roddy Piper held that title. It was Ricky Steamboat, of course. Dude, it was, I would almost say, because again, now we have two titles, main titles, right? You have the one for SmackDown. The Intercontinental Championship was a step down, and it wasn't much of a step from the main title. Like, it wasn't much of a step down from the World Heavyweight Championship. So that's how highly regarded this was. And
back in the day with that title, the guy that had that title, you knew was next up.
Yep, he was next in line. Yep. Great point. Yeah, it was tremendous. I absolutely loved it. But yeah, let us know who are your favorite Intercontinental champions. Keep them coming. Gunther, Honky Tonk Man, and Chris Jericho. James Grant said Gunther number 1, Razor Ramon number 2, Chris Jericho number 3, Razor, HBK, and Gunther. Sheldon Benjamin is an underrated IC champ as well. Derek Fleming said, and don't forget about Shelton, man. Shelton was amazing as well. Mr. Perfect. Oh yeah, of course.
Got a shout out.
One of my all-time favorite heels, man. Loved Mr. Perfect. And Bret Hart, of course. Just so much good stuff. Yeah, keep shouting them out. And you know what? While you're at it, play along. Who would you like to see if Gunther does lose the title and he does go on to, because we mentioned it, who would you like to see him wrestle? For a title for the either SmackDown or Raw Championship. Let me know. Who would you like to see wrestle? Macho Man. Ooh, yeah, absolutely. The one and only Triple H. Dragunov. Not in my top 3, but one of the best IC title moments. Santino winning it from Umaga from being an audience member is immortal. Oh,
that was awesome.
Santino's the best, man. I'm so happy he's in Impact and he's still killing it all these years later. Hilarious. We saw the Cobra from him at Victory Road on Saturday. That guy is just tremendous.
And Bully sold the heck out of it.
Oh my God, he did. He so did. Bully Ray, you might hate him, but oh my God, he sold the hell out of that Cobra. It was so good.
He did.
Chad or Jey Uso. Chyna was the first. Yeah, Chyna won. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. She was. Yeah. Great
she
shout
beat
out.
Jeff Jarrett, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I do believe so. Yep.
Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah,
Chyna, that was awesome. And honestly, here's the thing with that. No one was going to argue with that because it was so believable because of what she did. I mean, she was tremendous. So yeah,
absolutely. Listen, Chyna again. People say horrible things about her many times, and I will say this: there wouldn't be a Rhea Ripley if it weren't for Chyna. There wouldn't be some of these athletes that we have in all of the women's divisions.
Jade Cargill.
Yes. All hell, Jordan Grace. Deonna Purrazzo, they would not be around had it not been for Chyna paving the way. She was, I don't care what she did in her personal life. Listen, people do things in their personal lives for their own reasons. But what she did for wrestling is just absolutely amazing. In a big part of DX, of course. But yeah, she, and I love, you see now, a lot of these younger folks and a lot of these younger women in wrestling pay homage to her. And I like it. I really am happy that happens. And they're getting away from all of that business and what she did outside of wrestling, which who cares? Who cares? People do things. What are you going to do? They try to make a living. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, it's Chyna's tremendous, and I'm glad she's getting her just due. Tito Santana. Ooh, good call out. Yes. See, these are all what I grew up with, man. I love all this stuff. Randy Orton, the Chyna documentary. So I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. It is really good. If you haven't watched
I've got to watch it.
Yeah, it's good. Good stuff. All right, what's up next, man?
All right, so we go from the championship reign to the man showing up in NXT, making a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, you know what? It's Tazzy's in the chat, and it's a good thing. If you're not watching NXT, and I don't usually get a chance to because it's the second night of my day off, and I have a lot of things that I do. But I'll tell you what. The last couple of weeks I've been watching, man, oh man, I'm loving the fact that they are bringing guys and gals from the main roster down to NXT. It is so good for both shows. Some of these people are getting such a almost like an uplifting down. Baron Corbin, Mustafa Ali, we had Bailey was down there for a bit. Listen, this is great. This is absolutely great. And now this is going to be huge. Seth Rollins was there. And that was one of the most watched episodes of NXT ever. And now Becky's down there too. NXT is where it's at. If you're not watching that, man, check out Tazzy's stream every Tuesday. Listen, I shout out Tazzy because he has been doing this show since the very start. Since Tazzy started his stream, this was his thing. NXT was his thing since the very beginning, and so many of your favorites have come from there. And I heard a comment today, Jeff, about it was on another show I had listened to, and their comment was that I think it was Busted Open, probably was, but their comment was that I think it was Thunder Rosa said that Shawn Michaels and Triple H are so on the same page. And this is why you see a guy like LA Knight come from there and they don't change him. They don't feel the need to change his character. They don't make him into something new. He just goes up and does what he does because Shawn is grooming them down there along with the help of others, of course. And then Triple H just brings him up because he trusts Shawn Michaels. And he knows that they're going to succeed up there. And I think that's fantastic. A lot of the times in the old NXT before Shawn, that's what we would see. These people would get brought up and they would end up with completely different gimmicks off the wall. And a lot of times they'd fail. And so I love this. I love the fact that Shawn is down there. I think he's doing a tremendous job. I love the fact that Triple H and him are best friends because it is very copacetic with one another. And NXT, man, been awesome. And having Becky there in this feud is just going to make things even better. More and more and more viewers are going to watch that show.
Yeah, and I hope that, and we're going to talk about this in another segment. So we'll get more opinions on it from all of you too. But I think, honestly, NXT doesn't get enough praise.
Yeah.
And it's honestly one of the better, more consistent wrestling programs on TV every week, regardless of company. Yep. It just is. Like I know I have a lot of people here that will agree with that statement. But, I think, like I said, we'll get into this more, but I think having Becky Lynch there hopefully not only elevates Tiffany, but also helps out the other women on the roster there as well.
Yep.
In the locker room there. This is a good opportunity for all of them as well. So I think if you're not watching NXT, same plug. If you're not watching NXT, do yourself a favor and watch it. It really is tremendous. So,
without a doubt, and I know it's got me hooked. I've been watching as well. I have, of course, Tazzy on in the background when I do. So make sure you do give him some love because Tazzy has been, like I said, been there since the start, and since we all started doing the podcasting. And so, yeah, make sure you check out his channel for the stream. But yeah, the Von Wagner and Braun Breaker stuff. And listen, everybody kept saying Braun Breaker going to main roster. Listen, he's doing just fine down there. Thank you.
Why rush it?
There is no need to just rush him up there. He's doing very well down there. And speaking of LA Knight, which we may touch on a little bit later, how about that little thing with Paul Heyman? You don't think that's a little tease for maybe what's to come somewhere? Could you imagine if we got LA Knight against Roman Reigns? Who would ever have said that maybe 5, 6, 7 months ago? But oh boy, could it be coming? So amazing, just amazing, man. That ending was nuts. Yeah, they need to reinforce that wall next to the announce desk in NXT. How many people have been thrown through that thing? Not everyone needs to go to the main roster. You're right.
That's right.
You're absolutely right. You can thrive down there. Like I said, Corbin's reinvigorated down there. Ali has been reinvigorated down there. I totally agree, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, great stuff. All right, man. What do we have? Oh, this one's going to be good.
This one will be good. So there's really there's no explanation. I'm just going to put the graphic on the screen and we're just going to talk. So Here we go. Discussing the CM
Okay.
Punk AEW split. We had to do it at some point. So, Joe,
Oh boy. So listen, we don't need to go over what happened. This happened a bit ago, right? It was huge news when it did. I don't think anybody's completely shocked by it because, well, it's not like this didn't happen before. And so CM Punk, as all of you know, unless you were all hiding in a cave for the last week and a half, is no longer a part of AEW. He was fired by Tony Khan. And apparently because Tony Khan felt threatened, I think is what it said. And I don't know, like when a boss is threatened or feels threatened, that's not good. But I listen. Am I going to sit here and say, listen, I don't know what happened. Okay. I'm not going to claim to. I wasn't there. I don't think anyone or any news places can really say for 100% sure what happened because they all didn't know. They got word of things going on and him and Jack Perry, but then they had to go and do an investigation because they didn't really know exactly who did what to who. So I don't know that anybody really does know. But in either situation, Jack Perry was not fired. CM Punk was. And so when a celebrity or a big star of this magnitude is let go, it's big news. Now, what does this look like for AEW? I don't know that you can say it looks bad for the company in particular. For me, it looks bad for one person, and I will segue that into what I'm going to talk about in my grievances thing, because, I personally think this falls on one person, and I'll tell you why in a little bit, because and we've talked about this on this show before. This isn't the first time that we've mentioned it. And I'll get into that, but it's just, when this happens, I guess what you really have to ask when you are a fan of this show, what does this do for them? They are selling out. Listen, you can say what you will about the wrestler and the man. He sells out arenas. Okay. He sells out arenas. So what do you do now? They still have stars there, right? They have Jericho, of course, John Moxley, Daniel Bryan. They still have stars. But this guy, remember when he came back, and that show that he came back in was huge. I mean, it blew the roof off the wrestling world when he showed up.
I mean, we were paying attention to it.
Hell yeah.
We were doing SmackDown that night, and I think, or either we were doing a Impact pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We were keeping an eye on it. Yeah, it was huge.
It was huge news. He gave out those popsicles and everything, the ice cream bars, all of it. It was huge. It was probably one of the biggest returns ever in wrestling. Mm-hmm. And that Chicago arena that they had, blew the doors off of the place. So this is a huge loss for them. And regardless of why it happened, I think more what you have to ask is not just why, but how does this stuff continue to happen? How does it continue to happen? And now that he's gone, the interesting thing is, will this stop? And I'm going to just give you a little hint. I don't think so.
Well, I'm going to hear my thoughts on it. I don't really I'm not really on one side or another, but here are my thoughts. I think that it's extremely interesting, the timing of all of these different CM Punk reports. I think that's one. My honest opinion is this. I think that everyone was looking at the possibility of big money. I think everyone was looking at, oh man, maybe they were thinking this is a good way to stick it to WWE. I don't know. It seems like that's oftentimes a thought process of, let's see if we can bring this up or bring that up or sign this person so they can do this or say that. It seems like that's the case. I know that's not the only reason, but it just seems like that's a part of the decision. Um, but I think once he got there, they figured out that there were certain personalities and certain people who just couldn't get along. So I also think that while CM Punk did not help himself, I also think that he had people that were just plotting on his downfall. I
Mhm.
I think that's a part of it too. I think it's interesting that we always get the reports about CM Punk, but we rarely get the drip, the flow of information about the other camps as well. And I'm not going to go into that because people know who I'm talking about if you've been
Yep.
paying attention to the situation.
Yep.
But I think that um, in terms of CM Punk, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. Um, I think he is a big draw. Um, I think with the appropriate, and I guess we can get into this more because this will be a part of another segment as well. But I think depending on the makeup of the locker room and the explanation of expectations initially, like during contract negotiations, I think that's all dependent on the success of CM Punk in 2023 and beyond. Because I don't think that, just looking at, um, I think just looking at the makeup of the reports that we hear about the feel of the AEW locker room and how things are structured there, I don't think that CM Punk or a person of his stature, um, kind of operating like a lone wolf, so to speak, in some cases, I just don't think that works there. Maybe it works somewhere else, but I just don't think it works there. I think you have to have a different type of structure um, to to be able to facilitate because it's a mutual thing. I mean, it's it's honestly like let's look at basketball back in the day, and I'm gonna age myself a little bit here, but let's take the Lakers back in the day when they had James Worthy, when they had Kareem, um, when they had all those guys, and instead of Magic Johnson, they got Michael Jordan.
Mm.
Now, that fitting in that piece, it's not going to happen in 10 games. You're completely adapting to a different style.
Yep.
Michael Jordan wasn't the facilitator that Magic Johnson was. His game it was a lot different.
Yep.
So I think it is fun to do the fantasy booking stuff. It's fun to say, man, this person should go to this company, this person should go to that company. That sounds great when you're doing it on a video game, and when you're doing it with action figures, it works really, really well.
Yep.
But when you have actual human personalities and differences of opinion, things can tend to break down. And I just think for me, what I'm really disappointed in, I'm disappointed in the fact that AEW had this historic show, and instead of talking about that almost immediately, I mean, we didn't even get through the event without people talking about it.
Yep.
But that's the conversation now. So it's like it's unfortunate because I feel like they did such a great job with All In that it just immediately put a sour note on there. And I'm just trying to figure out why. Like,
Yep.
it's all, and I also want to point this out too, and then I'm done with it. But Mark Henry said this. He said, so everything should be fine now. There should be no more, issues. It should be kumbaya. It should be rainbows, butterflies, and marshmallow clouds. Kind of like we shouldn't hear another peep about anything else that's no one bonus baby. um, but I think that we'll see now. We'll see. And I know what you're going to talk about in your grievance in terms of who it is. And I would just say that, you know, got to step up. You either have to step up or you have to put people in places that can, if you're unwilling or unable.
Who is easy to figure out? Because we've talked about this before, and it's really not even that. What I'm going to talk more about in that is the resources that are in place there that could be that. And that's what I'll get into. But Jeff's 100% right. What a shame that 2 big pay-per-views they've done now, and a black cloud hangs over both.
Mm-hmm.
Both.
Both.
That's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
We had a scrum after the one that's all that's going to be remembered for, because Bully Ray mentions this a lot. What do people remember most about a wrestling event? The main event, the last thing they see, always. And it's like he likens it to a concert. What do you remember most when you go to a rock concert? The finale, the last part. Kiss. I was a big Kiss fan. What do they do at the end? Rock and roll all night, right? And then they put the fireworks and the pyro and all that stuff. What do you remember most? The end. What are you going to remember about these pay-per-views? You're going to remember about some amazing matches that happened earlier. You're going to remember about what happened after. That's bad. It's bad.
Right.
And that's, so 100%. And they are a new company. They are a fledgling wrestling company. They haven't been around now, been around a few years now, but they're trying to build up. They're trying to get up there, right? To get up to the level of their competition. This is going to drag you down a bit. And remember this too. My God, they had a show centered around CM Punk. The Saturday Collision show. Where does that go now? What does that? And Bryan Danielson's going to go there. Okay, well, that I like Bryan Danielson, but that's not what that show was made for. That show was created for him, and now he's gone. So, yeah, man, it's just hard to dig out of. And like I said, I'll get into a little bit more, but it's a shame. It's a shame, and so I'll get into a little more in a bit. I think the pressure being in creative for Collision is to blame for Punk's downfall. He collided with people like Jack Perry, who are friends of the elite, as they didn't want to do Punk stuff. I think if he's employed as solely talent wrestler, given clear instructions, he would be a lot better. Listen, and the C brings up a good point, and Jeff and I have compared this to this too. This isn't the first time this stuff has occurred. I compare AEW a lot to WCW because a lot of it is very similar. You hear the topics of us that grew up watching WCW and early TNA after WCW all know who was in charge of that show. It was the boys. It was Hulk Hogan. It was Kevin Nash. It was Scott Hall. And sure, it started off great. The NWO was fantastic. One of the best things ever. But it degenerates because Eric Bischoff was in with those guys, right? But then what happens to the rest of the town? Where does that all come in? They would always get favoritism because they're the bigwigs in the back. That doesn't lead to good things. If you want to not make mistakes, you must learn from history. You must look at the things that happened in the past and try not to repeat them. And that's where you don't want to see that happen because everything will come apart. And I'll tell you, even more in this generation than in the past, because in the past, a lot of the wrestlers just needed a paycheck that badly that they would just take it. They would just sit back and take it. They'd complain about it, but there's nothing they could do. And they were making money, so they didn't care. Nowadays, that's not going to happen. These wrestlers are smart. They know. And there's other places where some of these people can go. So it's not the same. So yeah, it's. I'm not going to say it's all doom and gloom. Listen, they do a lot of great things there, and like Jeff said, that show was tremendous. That they had a huge crowd. You can't take that away from them. That show was tremendous. There were many, many great matches in that show. But what's it going to be remembered for? The crappy ending. So, or not really was the ending, I guess. But you know what I mean. It happened during the course of the show. So, but yeah, I don't know.
The last thing that I'll say on this from my standpoint, and you can take it however you want to take it, for those who have a problem with it. There's a reason why oftentimes in wrestling, active wrestlers aren't in charge.
Yep.
There's a reason why when you have a position such as EVP, maybe it's not good to be in that spot if you're an active wrestler. Because if you have a vendetta or if you have a personal issue with someone, how are you going to resolve that issue? Can you separate it? Can you separate it as this is me as an EVP dealing with this situation, or is it going to be dealt with unprofessionally? So just throwing that out there.
100%. 100%. All right. Well, there you go. I believe that is the news. So we are on to the next one, which, well, it's everybody's favorite segment of our show, the airing of grievances. I've got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it. Here comes the intro.
Let's hit it.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
Jeff, you start and I start. Which up? Doesn't matter to me.
I can start because
right ahead.
Yeah, mine is a little it's not so nice. And I'm just gonna say that
sometimes these things aren't, and that's why they're called grievances. But yes, go right ahead, my friend.
I'm just gonna start out by saying some wrestling fans, not all, but some, really need to understand that you take it way too seriously. It's wrestling. It's entertainment. It's fun. Yeah, there are times when we connect with things, people that we connect with on a deeper level, and that happens, and that's great. But when you take it seriously to a point where you threaten people because they have an opinion on wrestling, where you harass people because of wrestling, I gotta ask you to really check your priorities. Because if that's your priority is to get pissed off and make yourself look like a jackass on the internet, if that's your mission accomplished. Great job. You nailed it. But if that's not your goal, really evaluate your life where, I mean, if you see someone's opinion and it upsets you that much, I think it's time to maybe take a little bit of a break from it, because maybe it's unhealthy for you. Maybe you can't handle the responsibility of just sitting back and being a fan. I can't tell you how many times I look on social media and I see these fans or whatever they are, and they're talking about how this person should have won. This person has to win. Listen, these wrestling companies are companies and businesses. There's one business that I know of that their active motto is have it your way. I don't think WWE has adopted that motto. or slogan. I don't think AEW has Impact. I can't really think of any wrestling promotions that have. Same thing goes with TV shows and movies. We can fantasy write it, fantasy book it, all those things. But if we don't get our way, that's not an indication that the product sucks. It's just we're not on the same wavelength. And that's okay because how I do something isn't how Joe's going to do something, and how Joe does something isn't how some of you do it. It's okay. We're all uniquely different, and that's fine. But to act as if our singular opinion is should be the absolute gospel and what these companies should use to book their shows that make them money, that pay the talent that work for these companies. If you think your opinion is that important, I mean, really. But it's okay to have fun. It's absolutely fine to have fun. But when you take it to a place where you belittle others because they have a different viewpoint of than yours, like it's not that serious. We all have a love for it. Most of us started watching when we were children. Let's try to get back to the point where we enjoy it like a kid does, where we get excited, where we try not to seek out every single spoiler and figure out something that's going to happen a year from now because we just got to know. That sucks the fun out of stuff. I like being surprised. I like genuinely being surprised. I can tell you now, I'm a huge Saw fan. There's tons of stuff out there right now about Saw. I want to go in the Saw 10 and be absolutely shocked. I don't want to know who's coming back. I'm mad that they put Shawnee Smith in the freaking trailer because I wanted to be in the theater to see that. Darn you, Saw. But you know what? I'm excited about that. I'm not saying that Patrick Melton and Lee Winnell and whoever else sucks because they put that in the trailer. I just wouldn't have done it that way. And that's okay. All right. I'm done.
Yeah, it really makes things hard to, we live in a world of very, very interesting technological times. We have access to everything, and that's not always a good thing. And that's why I was telling everybody for this coming Thursday not to spoil it because it's so much fun when you get surprised today and you see things that you didn't know were coming. It's part of the fun, and it's part of the fun and entertainment, especially. And he's right. Like a lot of this stuff just sucks the fun out of all of this. And if you know what's coming, it's like, okay, it's cool to see it, I guess, but. And I know there's a listen. I know the spoiler stuff. I've done that. I've been there, done that. I'll tell you stories. I spoiled Force Awakens. I am such a big Star Wars fan, huge. I spoiled the entire script. I had two dudes from Australia who I don't even know send me a copy of a script that they said that they had for this movie. And I'm thinking, these guys are nuts. And I got it, and it was right. I don't know where these dudes got it from. They were on, it wasn't Reddit. It was, I forget that, 4chan. They were on 4chan. I saw this thing. They sent it to me, and I was like, I read it, and I'm like, and I knew everything that happened 2 months before the movie. And I'm, and then I regretted it. Because then I went to the movie and I'm like, you read stuff too and you think, okay, this is going to be really cool. But then when you see it, sometimes it's different. Scripts don't translate to the movie all the way all the time. They take some stuff out, they put some stuff in, things change. And then, you get that high. You're thinking, oh, this is going to be so cool. And then when you go, you're like, and it spoils. So it's not always a wonderful thing to do, and we are given so much of that from so many people. So I agree with everything you said, dude. It's especially wrestling, which is entertainment. It's best to just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. It's just much better that way.
Yeah.
Make sure you all tune in to the 1,000th episode of TNA Impact Wrestling. They made it, y'all, the second major wrestling company to be the longest wrestling company in the world this Thursday on Access TV. Or the Impact Ultimate Insiders for just, well, look at this guy. He's advertising it for us. Just $5 covers pay-per-view. Impact Plus shows where you can watch on their YouTube channel. I still get mad when they call it Ultimate Insiders. That still makes me angry. How much will it cost the community to pay you to see it? That will not happen. That will not happen. Will not happen. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. No. No. Dude, I'm not even gonna watch the trailer. My TV will be off. When trailer time starts for that, no. I will not watch, and it'll be everywhere. It'll be everywhere. I'll turn on my YouTube TV and bloop, there'll be a big banner. I know it will, and I am not watching any of it. None of it. None. All right. Thank you, Jeff. Mine's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and I queued it before. So, when you have a lot of money, you kind of think that you have the right to do it all. And I guess, whether you worked for it or not, you worked for it, then yeah, you're gonna feel like you're gonna feel like you deserve it. You deserve a lot of good things to happen and things like that. But I think one of the things that, and I've worked for a lot of companies, right? A lot of big ones, and I've met some of the CEOs of these companies, and I think what happens is a lot of those men. One of the things I learned about in my retail career, and I always had a hard time with it myself, is delegation. I never used to be able to delegate very well because I used to tend to try to take things all on myself. If something would come down from my boss and say, hey, this needs to be done, I need it done by so-and-so, and blah, 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 I would usually do it. Now, there were times when I was working in stores that maybe had myself and maybe two employees. So I kind of had to. But as I went through my career, I never changed that attitude. I would always take things upon myself and do it. I was never one to delegate very well. I was never one to go up to my, employees and say, all right, guys, I need you to help me with this. This is something we have to get done. It has to be done by blah, blah, blah. And I need you to help me because there's no way I can get this done. Sometimes when you are in a high position, you feel that you could do it and should do things on your own. And it doesn't always work. And it really doesn't work very often. I've been burned by that because I tried to take things on by myself, and I've been burned because a lot of times I don't have enough time to do them. I get bogged down because there's other stuff going on. And then a lot of times if it was sales stuff in my store, my sales would slip because I was focusing on something else that I really could have passed off or delegated to some people that worked for me. Well, you can all guess who I'm talking about and who I think has a delegation problem of his own. Now, you can say, well, he's a rich guy. He's probably not going to ever need to have, but see, the thing is, everybody does. You do. When you run a company, when you own a company, yes, you want to be involved, and it's cool. Listen, it's your company. You should be. You also should be a fan of what your company is, because listen, if you're not, what the hell do you own it for? I mean, I'm even talking about, people who are, I don't know, you bought an ice cream company. You better damn well like ice cream, or it's not really going to work out very well for you. And so there is a delegation problem there. So what you need to do is, and this could be ego, this could be, I don't know, it could be a lot of things, right? I wish I knew, because I could have stopped the problem for me because I went through it. But who knows why? But in the case of AEW, there are people in place there. There are veterans of the ring that are in place there. You have Mark Henry. You have Arn Anderson. You have, Daniel Bryan. There are leaders in that locker room. Hell, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho. There are guys in that locker room who are leaders. They are the ones that you should be relying on to help you with this. Now, I'm not saying, because again, we referred to WCW. I'm not saying get this little tiny little faction of people together and you are the rulers, because that doesn't work. But guys like a Mark Henry, guys like Jeff said, like Paul White, Big Show, they've been around. They've been in this business for a long, long time. They've done amazing things in this business. You go to them, you lean on them to be your locker room people. You lean on them to kind of get everybody together, be in the locker room, get these guys on the same page. If something goes on back there, they are the guys that come out and say, all right, guys, let's cut the crap. There are, and it's not like they don't have that. They do. There are people there in both locker rooms. There are men, there are women that have been around in wrestling. They're not new to wrestling. They're not all rookies. Jeff Jarrett's another one. They should be the ones that Tony Khan can rely upon to say, enough's enough. This bickering is done. And then if they don't respect the people that are in the locker room, well, then that person probably shouldn't be there. But if you don't have that, if you don't have the ability to delegate, and you can't do that, and you have a problem with that, then you have to really swallow your pride. And like I said, I know this because this happened to me. You want to succeed, you need to swallow your pride, and you need to be like, I can't do this myself, because I'm never going to go any further than what I am now. And you know what? No amount of money can buy that. None. So that's what I think is the problem. And I think that could also be the solution. And I think that's where this needs to go in order to fix that issue. Whether or not it'll happen, I hope it does, because I want to see them succeed. I think they're great for wrestling. I don't want it to be a one-game thing anymore. That was a bad time. I want them to do well. I want them to be around, because competition is great. But something has to happen in order for that to go forward. That's it. I'm done.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you have to have structure in place, I think. And, I mean, there's only so much letting people kind of do their own thing and, coming up with their own creative that works. There's only so much of that works. And when it doesn't work, it's pretty glaring. And, going back to hiring practice, I mean, you brought those people in for a reason. Use them for those purposes. I mean, there's going to be some point where Jim Ross isn't going to be able to do commentary, but you know what he'll be able to do? Talent relations.
Yep.
He'd be able to make those connections and those relationships with the people they have on the roster, and hopefully be able to keep some semblance of peace. But you have to trust those people to do that. So yeah. Brandon Davey talking about Sting. I mean, that's another name.
Yeah,
person, absolutely. That's around. So Jake Roberts. I mean, there's a ton. So hopefully, again, we want to see them succeed. Hopefully they get those things squared away.
A lot of great names there to rely upon. You just have to suck it up and do it. Plain and simple. Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Well, that is our airing of grievances segment for this week. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed that part of our show. Always fun to do that, kind of like our little, there used to be little editorials in newspapers and things like that back in the day. What the hell's a newspaper? Some of you are probably asking me, but yes, those things I used to read on rocks that were made out of chiseled stuff. Yes. So, all right, we're moving on, Jeff. What have we got next? I believe we're doing our debate segment, huh?
Yeah, it's time for sell or no sell. So
Play along in the chat. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Sell or no sell. You guys know how this works. You just say whether you would sell this or no sell it. So topic number 1. Speaking of CM Punk will sign with another wrestling promotion this year. Now, we don't have much time left in this October, November, December, so not much time left in the year, but will CM Punk sign with another wrestling company? Jeff, sell or no sell?
Oh, I think I'm gonna sell it. I think I am. I'm going back and forth. But I do think that he will. I'm also trying to find my I love it button. And I can't find it for some reason. Oh, there it is. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, I think he'll end up with another company. I mean, whether that's WWE again, whether that's, I've seen some people say Impact. I think he will end up somewhere. And I think we'll see what happens, and there's an opportunity for him to rewrite his story. And I mean, yeah, like Lil Silver said, there was a brief moment in time where he was in TNA. But yeah, I think it's quite possible that he signed somewhere this year, Joe.
Okay. All right. Man, it's not an easy question because there are places that you obviously can go. I mean, and the big rumor is WWE, but that doesn't have to be the be all and end all.
Right.
If they don't want him to be there, I mean, hell, the next big pay-per-view for Impact is in Chicago. So there's that. My only thing with this is, and I've mentioned this, is I don't know, and nobody knows probably, the terms and conditions of his release or his firing. Does that come with a no competition clause? It could. And if that's the case, he may not, listen, if they're fired, they could make that any number of months. And if they say, well, you're done, and now maybe that doesn't apply because he was fired. I don't know. I don't want to get into all the legalese of all that stuff. But there could be that where he can't go anywhere in wrestling for a while. And if that's the case, then no. Could he appear somewhere? Sure. Do I think it's going to be WWE? Probably not. Simply because of a few things. One, well, listen, would they want him for the popularity of him and selling out arenas and pay-per-views? Sure. For the other stuff, when you have a lot of impressionable young wrestlers in that locker room, with some of these people that have gotten called up from NXT and so on and so forth, maybe not. Could he end up in Impact? Sure. Why not? There are a lot of veterans in Impact who've been there for a little while. Of course, you got Scott D'Amore there. You have Santino Marella there as well. So could he end up there? Sure. What I'm going to no sell it though, and my reasoning behind it is mostly because I think that there probably is something written into that paperwork for him that is not going to allow him to work anywhere anytime soon. That's what I think anyway, especially in wrestling. I think that, and the other thing too is sometimes when something like this happens to you, you don't really want to be around for a while. By around, I mean in the public eye. You kind of want this to go away and people forget. So he may just not want to be out there. Now, he's an outspoken dude, so maybe I'm wrong, but he may just want this to just go away for a little while. And if that's the case, then that would make it another thing seem to me. Now, do I ever think he'll wrestle again? More than likely, he probably will. Like I said, there's a lot of places out there. There's MLW, there's indie wrestling, there's NWA. There's a lot of places out there now that he could go. There's New Japan. There's a lot. So is he probably going to wrestle again? And I guess I'll say this. Does he want to? That's the bigger question. Does he want to? What's his health status like? He's had some pretty big injuries. So the question is does he want to? Is the question. But I'm going to say no sell for now, though, because I do think it's going to be a while. I don't think it's going to happen right away. So, all right. What's topic 2, Jeff?
All right, topic number 2 here. More WWE stars should show up on NXT. Joe, sell or no sell?
Yeah, I'll definitely sell this because look, the WWE roster is huge. And a lot of times you really have 2 TV shows, right? You have 3 hours of Raw and 2 hours of SmackDown. Now we know that SmackDown many times is kind of ruled time-wise by the Bloodline. And, rightfully so. They're given a lot of time on that show. A lot of times they're given the opening and they're also given in the ending, which is the last 15 minutes and maybe the first 15 minutes to a half an hour. So that's a half hour, almost an hour. That's almost half of your show. So you basically have 1 hour, maybe a little over on SmackDown, and then 3 hours on Monday, 4 hours to get all that talent on TV. That's not easy to do. So, yes, I do. There are, I mentioned all the names earlier. Mustafa Ali, Baron Corbin. People who didn't need it, but they went down there just to kind of give them a little rub. Seth Rollins, now Becky Lynch. Yes, you were getting these aren't like the stars that you don't see. These are big names that are going down there. I think it's smart. I was saying this back when Jeff and I talked about it on the show when Dolph Ziggler was going down there, which we thought was brilliant. Not only do they get the popularity of them going there and the eyes on the product, which is going to bring more people to watch, but I would almost guarantee you that these wrestlers, when they're down there, are also working with a lot of this young talent, and they're helping them to get better. Not just showing up there, but they're helping them to get better while they're there. Maybe they're at the training center and they're teaching them a couple things. Maybe they're observing and they're doing. So yes, 100%. How could you not? That's good. That's going to help out anyone. And yeah, absolutely, Jeff. I'm selling it all day. I think it's tremendous.
Yeah, I think because I see Barry Monkey, he said no sold it, saying NXT should be about development. Every star coming down to it takes away time from the NXT roster. Here's where I'll give you a little bit of pushback there, Barry Monkey. Understand your point, and I appreciate it. Here's where I'll give you a little bit of pushback. You said the key word, development. You have a lot of people, I think, on the main roster right now that may need a little more development as well. I think a good way to foster some of that development is to have them do some different things on NXT and work with some of the talent there, because I think one of the beautiful things about what we're seeing with NXT and WWE main roster shows, and Joe, you brought this up earlier, but there seems to be a little more cohesion between what NXT is doing and when people get to the main roster now. I think we all know why certain decisions were made before with NXT, talent. But I think now you have an opportunity, since you have that continuity there, is you can even start storylines on NXT and bring them to the main roster when NXT talent come up. And I mean storylines from an NXT person on the roster against someone on the main roster. So when you get to the main roster, you have a built-in feud. One of the other things that I would really like to see WWE do, And I think it'd be a good way to eat into some of those 3 hours on Monday nights that sometimes feel like a little bit of a marathon. I think in the 9 o'clock hour, they should devote 15 to 20 minutes to hyping up something that's going to happen on NXT the next night.
Smart.
You're getting all those eyes on Raw. What better way to put your other brand over, your other show over, than to highlight some things on the night before to really draw interest for the next night. Plus, it also gives you an opportunity to, give some more of those NXT talents some of that time to develop, as was mentioned before. So I think there are a lot of different ways that you could do it that could work out for everyone. But you have so much talent on the main roster NXT that not everyone's going to get an opportunity. How do you make best of those minutes backstage? How do you make the most of that time doing some promos, doing things for main event, whatever other content that's out there? So I think, it's a good opportunity to kind of mix things up.
Yeah. Very well said. Yeah, I don't think there's any way that you could say that. I mean, Barry obviously didn't agree, but I don't really see that there's any way that this could be bad in any way, shape, or form. I don't see it because you're getting eyes on the product, like Jeff said. Maybe the one thing you could do to improve it is to get a little bit of a rub on Raw about it, which that would be good too. But yeah, man, I just think that as I said earlier, you're seeing the simpatico of Triple H and Shawn Michaels. You're seeing that, and that's an amazing thing. Those two know what they're doing. They're great at their jobs, and they are making both of these products succeed. And I think that that's going to continue. And what I think, though, even more than all this, I think it's great that the wrestlers themselves, because look, go back about 15 years or so. Do you think some of the big time name wrestlers would have done this? Think about it. Would they have done it? Now, sure, I know some would. John Cena, yes, absolutely, 100%. The Rock, I would think so. But there are some names that you can look back on, and you would think that they might be like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not going down there. That's a development league. I'm not doing that. And the ego would take over. And so I think that's another good thing too. They have a lot of people who are, and hell, look at what John Cena is doing, man. John Cena is working again in WWE because of the writer's strike. He's not doing his Hollywood stuff because he can't. So what does he do? Comes back. You know what he's going to do? Do you think he's going to win a title? No. He's coming back to give people the rub. He's coming back to put these guys over, is what he's doing, which is great. And that's what these guys should be doing. And I think that the ones that are on the main roster, I think are wonderful for doing it. Seth Rollins did it. Becky Lynch is going to do it. And I think they enjoy it. Hell, Becky just was, Becky was doing it in her battle with Trish Stratus. So, yeah, I think it's fantastic. I don't see a drawback to this at all. I don't see that there's a drawback. I need to ask you both your thoughts talking of NXT. Do you think now Von Wagner had his skull crushed? Is he getting a mask? I'm down with that. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it. It's funny because
my thoughts in the chat.
Yeah. It's funny because when you see this kind of stuff that people actually like, oh damn, is it obviously it's storyline stuff, right? But that it leads to other things. But yes, and Jeff said I think he gets a mask. I think that's why they spent so much time in his story as well. Title to get it's going to lead to things like that, right? We've seen that before, an injury that's kind of debilitating, and then, they either have to wear a mask or something or other, right? We saw Trish with a broken nose, right, wearing the nose thing. So, I would think so. That would just make sense.
I think I think what they did with him, because Barry Monkey brings it up here. I think what they did with him is I think it'll be a good opportunity to put him under a mask because they talked about his story in such great detail.
Yep.
And it's honestly, if you put a mask on him and he's some type of horror monster type character,
Yep.
you could build that story in a way that you could liken it to a horror movie villain or slasher. I mean, think about this. Think about when Friday the 13th started unveiling some of Jason's past and some of the things he went through as a child. You felt sympathy for what most people would think is an unsympathetic character. Same could be done here. You could They built in the sympathy part. They built in the part where you really care about him and his story. But if you now flip it on its head, then you have some understanding of how he was created and why.
Yep.
So,
yep. Yeah. Yeah. And listen, I'll get into this a little bit later with the favorite moments of the week, but horror is good for wrestling. Just is. It just is. So, and Halloween's coming. So,
yep.
If it's a Kane type of story, even a character like Kane, his return is definitely coming on Halloween Havoc, which is
yep.
Smart. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we have one more topic, I think, of sell or no sell. Jeff, what's the last one?
Yeah, we do. Talking a little bit more about Impact 1000. Impact 1000 will bring more viewers to Impact Wrestling more consistently, Joe. Sell or no sell?
Oh man, it's tough to sell or no sell this because I want to say I hope so. I would guess that, well, you know what? Consistently, I think, is the key word here because I think it's going to get a lot of eyes on it to watch. You know what? I'm going to sell it. I'm going to be positive here, and I'm going to sell it. More viewers, yes. I think it will. I think it will. I think they're going to do a very good job with this. Everybody loves nostalgia. I know I do. People, that's coming out more and more. I mean, with music and stuff like that, you're hearing stuff that would maybe have heard back in the 70s a little bit, making comebacks. Stuff with the 80s. I mean, I always enjoy all that stuff. People love nostalgia. And that's why this stuff like works, right? Like even your science fiction stuff with the bringing back of Star Trek and new Star Wars and stuff like that. That's nostalgia, and it just works. So I think that nostalgia will bring eyes to the product. Now, if the show is awesome, then yes, I think so. People might say this is fantastic. And if that's going to really be up to the matches and stuff like that and what's on that show besides the nostalgia stuff. There are some great, and I mean great things going on there. And I'm going to get to one in my favorite moments of the week that Jeff alluded to, because I personally think that especially now, and you'll all know what I mean, but especially now it's needed. And so I think that there are things going on there that are awesome. And so, but again, people have been so turned off to it. And I think there are people, we're seeing that ourselves. There's people joining our streams now that are coming back week after week after week. A lot of times we get people that would just pop in for a pay-per-view and we wouldn't ever see them again. But now we're getting some new people that are coming in that are starting to become interested, just kind of like they were when, it happened a little bit when Kenny Omega was involved, of course, and all the AEW people were coming out, but that kind of went away. They came in and watched when Omega was there, and the episodes were really big when he was. And then when he left, it kind of went away. But now, they're doing some really amazing things. And now here's the other name I'll say too, Jeff, Trinity. Listen, Trinity is huge. Trinity is a huge name for them. And she being the women's champion there, I think that's bringing viewers into. She has a big following of people. And I think that that's doing wonders for Impact as well. So yes, I'm going to sell it. I think the 1000 episode is going to be fantastic. It will be nostalgia filled. You will see a lot of things going on there. Consistently, I'll say yes, but more so, I hope so.
Yeah. I I'm there with you. I think, C brought up a good point. Um, Barry Monkey brings up a good point. I think it all depends on how they do it. I think it's great to have the nostalgia play as kind of a fan service thing, but I think you have to have a way to put over your current roster.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if the folks that are coming back that are going to be there do that in some way, shape, or form, I think yes. I think one another interesting part about this is that it can pique people's curiosity. So you might get people that tune in for this 1000th episode, and they may say, let me check it out on a week where they don't do this just to see what it's like, just to give it a chance. And that may pay dividends too. I think they're gonna go from where they are to like, 10xing their viewership on Access and YouTube. I'm not saying that. But I think at this point, if you can get more people interested, if you can get more people aware of the product as it stands today, I think you're going to create a lot of interest. And I think a good way to do that is to play to some of the fans that you've lost over the years, but also use that opportunity to put over people like Moose, people like Jordan Grace, Deanna Perrazzo, Trinity, Josh Alexander. I mean, could you imagine a moment? And I'm not saying that this is going to happen. It hasn't been reported that he's even there. But could you imagine a moment where Josh is in a match, he puts someone in the ankle lock, and Kurt Angle joins him and grabs the other ankle?
Mm.
I mean, could you imagine something like that? That
Yep.
would be awesome, wouldn't it? Not
Yep.
saying that that's going to happen, but something like that would be really cool. That'd be an awesome moment for someone like Josh. So,
Yep.
so yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for them to attract some new viewers.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. C said it depends on how the Impact highlight the current roster. If they're to put much emphasis on nostalgia, people buy into what isn't the norm, and then we'll tune out again. One Impact 1000 is more about the faithful. It might bring back interest from old fans that left. Says Barry. I listened to someone talk about it without spoilers, and it wasn't all just nostalgia. Yeah, no, I didn't think it would be. They're going to have actual matches there and stuff like that too, for sure, for sure. Okay, that is that for that segment. We're moving on to our favorite moments of the week, Jeff.
Yeah, favorite moments of the week.
You've all had some awesome things that you saw in wrestling this week, so please share them with us. We're going to go 3, we're going to go 2, we're going to go 1. So please do your number 3 when we do ours, and so on and so forth. Don't give them to us all at once. So we're going to start with our number 3. And Jeff, what was your number 3 moment of this past week of wrestling?
Well, I'm going to be an Impact homer again, so call me out about it. I don't really care.
I'm sure I will be too, so don't feel bad.
But my number 3 favorite moment of the week was seeing Jordan Grace return to Impact Wrestling, and not only return but win the match. And she has not had any success really against Deanna Perrazzo. So yeah, I got to shout out Jordan Grace for my 3rd moment of the week this week.
My number 3, and lo and behold, it's Impact 2. I'm going to go with Tommy Dreamer, man. Winning that title. I know, like I said, it's a digital media championship. Obviously, it's not a major quote-unquote title, but man, it's just great to see him get that. And I love how the fam was there, and it's just great to see somebody like him get his due, and somebody like him get that, which could be the last time of his career. So very, very happy for him. Great to see that his family was there to celebrate with him. And the kids, of course, are older. You know, a lot of times when they bring the kids there, they're younger, kind of like Chad's kids were. They kind of don't really remember that, but Tommy's kids are older, and they're going to remember that for a long time, that their dad was able to do that. So, yeah, Tommy Dreamer is my number 3. Let's see what the chat's saying. Tony Storm's performance, says Derek. Braun versus Vaughn, says Alexa Bliss Gamer. Tommy Dreamer wins the digital media title, says Dylan. Number 3, the Miz TV segment, arguing with the man no one could see. That was really funny.
And
really,
giving him a skull-crushing finale.
When did you ever think that you'd see Miz in the ring wrestling nothing? That was really, really cleverly done. I really, really like that. So very, very cool segment. LA Knight and Paul Heyman. Yes. What is going to come from that? Swerve's promo with Hangman Page. Hello, Hassan. How are you? NXT cliffhanger. Braun and Wagner, said Brandon. Jordan finally got her. Swackpan agrees with Jeff. Curious, when did Tommy Dreamer join Impact? He's been there for, kind of off and on. He just came back for this show, but he was there before with a big feud with Bully that went on for a good while. So I'd say he's been there, I don't know, probably since this time last year, Jeff, when you saw him at the pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, originally. So if you're talking about way back in the day, it was like 2010 when it was still TNA. He went there, and he's been there off and on. He's done some other things during that time too, but that's initially. So yeah.
Holy crap! 33-0.
Yeah, it's ugly. Like I got it on.
Holy crap!
It's ugly. They're just dog walking them right now.
Micah Parsons has like 2 sacks or something already, I think, in the game.
And Joe, what's crazy is you should probably have at least another 17 points.
I was just going to say their offense really isn't doing much. It's like all the defense that they ran back, and then like that's insane. I never would have expected that. I mean, Micah's a beast. He took up boxing in the offseason to get better at his dude. That man is going to be a beast. But okay, well, I'm not missing much, so that's a good thing. Number 3, Josh Alexander versus Steve Macklin, the match we wanted to see back in the spring at Rebellion, but couldn't, says Little Silver. I was waiting for Damian Sandow to come out and mimic the Miz. Joya, Joya, come on, right? How could you not like Joya? Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. All right, let's go to our number 2s. The arena for Victory Road, Impact from a good place. Plenty of room, good lighting, and the entrance looked great, said Barry Monkey. Yeah, it looked great. Looked awesome. Yeah. All right, number 2, Jeff, what's your number 2? And chat, you go to your number 2s.
Number 2, I'm going to go to the world of All Elite Wrestling and mention 2 people that I don't feel did what they were capable of, obviously, in WWE. And that's Tony Storm and Swerve Strickland. Tony Storm, what she's doing right now in terms of this character is phenomenal. I mean, it's just great. It's hilarious. The whole chin up, tits out thing, hilarious.
That might have been the first time that word was ever said on this podcast. There you go.
Yeah. Hey. She said it first, so I'm just. But throwing shoes and that kind. I mean, it's hilarious. Her demeanor while being interviewed is great. And then Swerve Strickland, who I felt like they were finally finding a lane near the end of his run with WWE with Hit Row. That promo with Hangman Adam Page Swerve is tremendous, and I'm really happy that people are actually getting an opportunity to see what he's capable of, because this guy is tremendous. So got to give them a shout out, because and she almost hit Renee with the shoe. Renee's become really good at ducking shoes, I will say, over the last just a little bit here. So, but yeah, I got to give them a shout out, because I feel like they're doing really good work. And honestly, to talk a little bit more about Tony Storm, she's doing this without being in the ring. So she's getting this character over, and she hasn't stepped out in front of the arena or any. It's just been backstage stuff. So another thing there where if you use your time wisely and use some time, it doesn't always have to be out in the ring. It doesn't always have to be in front of the crowd. It could be something like a backstage segment or a promo. Um, so yeah, but good stuff.
Derek says, phenomenal. Jeff, number 2, Gunther becoming the longest IC champion. Von Wagner versus Braun Breaker, no DQ match. Number 2, Butch versus Axiom. Alexa Bliss Gamer. Chad versus Gunther. Samoa Joe versus MJF promo. Yeah, that was fantastic. If that's what's going to happen going forward, it's going to be pretty amazing. I know that Joe is wrestling Roddy, right? Roderick Strong for the right to face MJF. Either one of them would be a pretty awesome storyline. Samoa Joe versus MJF, the all-out crowd giving Orange Cassidy a standing ovation to end the show. Yuya's tiny silver shorts that left little to the imagination. Okay. My number 2. What this man is doing right now is so much needed in wrestling. So much. And I don't even have to mention why, because I think a lot of you will know. Crazy Steve. Oh my God. If you got, again, I don't know that a lot of you guys come out and watch Impact, but man, if you are fans of horror and wrestling, you need to come out and watch Impact Wrestling. I'll be honest, and I have to give C his due, because C was the one who shared with me before, and then I went to Jeff and asked Jeff about Impact, and Jeff was the one who turned me on to watching the show. I didn't watch it even after that, but C shared with me a picture a while ago about Decay. I don't know who the hell they were. I just know they look damn cool, and there was blood everywhere, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I kind of forgot about it, and then Jeff told me about, and then I got, wrestling is better when it reflects society and pop culture. Horror is huge, and all this stuff is coming back, right? We're getting, like Jeff said, Saw. I don't want to mention it, but the Exorcist sequels, all of the Nun 2, the Insidious, all of it is coming back. I said they're making a Friday the 13th TV series called Crystal Lake, which I am so excited for. Halloween was, a couple of years ago that all of it is coming back, and society is better with that involved. And it's when it's in wrestling and when it's good, oh my God, where Crazy Steve came up with this. If you don't know who Crazy Steve is, first of all, it's a phenomenal story. He's legally blind and he wrestles. Okay. He's been in Decay. So he's always had that horror aspect about his character. But he did a series of interviews, and it was all just about him and his background. And it was Tom Hannafin interviewed him, and it was just tremendous. Like the story, they kept doing it week after week. And then the third week he snapped and he attacked Hannafin. Now he is coming out. Okay, hold on. He is coming out with that. Okay? That is like a combination of that Momo, whatever the hell that thing used to be called on the internet, which was terrifying. Children, terrifying. A little bit of Rob Zombie's Halloween when he was doing the paper mache masks in his cell. But he comes out with that on, right? And when he gets to the stage, he grabs either side of the mouth and rips it off his face. And then underneath, his face is all covered in burns, scars. And oh my God, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. If you guys are fans of horror in wrestling, and I know many of you are because you were such big fans of Bray, who did it so well, you need to check this out. This is awesome. awesome. He's got a vendetta against his former mates, against Decay, because they left him. He went after Tarus. You know what one of his finishing moves is? A fork. He goes out and gets a fork and he stabs him in the eye with the fork. So we're getting eye play. Remember all the eye play with Rey Mysterio and Seth and all that? We're getting eye play, right? This is tremendous. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I marked out hard. His entrance is so good, man. So good. He plays this role so well in the match with Tarus at Victory Road, because Tarus was his tag team partner. They were together for the longest time they were in Decay, and he fought him. And at one point, Tarus was kind of kicking his butt, and then he kind of begged him off. He did that classic move where he kind of, please don't hurt me, right? He got down on his knees, and he made Tarus for that split second stop what he was doing. And he went in for the kill. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. My number 2 favorite moment. Absolutely loved it since he's been doing this. I can't wait to see where this goes. There's so much. Could he go after Rosemary and Jessica, or Courtney and Jessica? Would he go after women? Well, he's pissed at Decay. Or does he get people to come out with him? Or does he try to turn them? I don't know, but I love it, man. I am so impressed by that, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Love it. Don't forget the horror movie I shared. Yes, I immediately shared it with Jeff. The Thanksgiving Day movie. The dude dresses as a pilgrim and he goes around murdering. Oh my, that's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
I will say that I watched the Grindhouse movies whenever they came out. I guess it was in like 2007 or something like that. But I watched the movies then, and they had, because it was a Grindhouse setup, they did the little fake trailers in between the movies.
Yep.
So that was one of them. And I was like, oh my goodness, Eli Roth needs to make this. And everyone that watched the movie was like, he needs to make this. And we just kept waiting and waiting and waiting. Then several years ago, you started hearing some rumblings about it. And then they said, okay, they're actually moving forward with it. So when I saw news that there was a trailer coming out, I was pumped. And then I had completely forgotten about it because Joe can tell you it's been a crazy week at work for me.
Yeah.
But Joe sent that to me. I watched it immediately. I was in my office fist pumping and all happy. People thought I was crazy because I was talking about a dude dressed like a pilgrim unaliving people on Thanksgiving Day. So yeah,
we really should put this out there to everyone, Jeff, because we were kind of talking a little earlier about doing different things, right? We should maybe, because we're such horror nuts, we should maybe do like a once a month, whatever, watch along of some kind of horror film. I think that would be awesome. We could all gather together and we could find one that everybody could see. Most of these things are on streaming, so like go back and watch. I don't know, some of the stuff that maybe a lot of you may not have seen and stuff. I think that would be a lot of fun.
It would be.
Yeah, maybe that's something we can. You guys could let us know if you'd be interested in something like to be something very different, obviously, but it pertains to wrestling, right? Horror does. So you can let us know if that's something you'd be interested in. I'll stick it out there on Twitter and see if we get any any interest in that. But I think that would be fun. And so obviously we'll have to keep it toned down to an extent if we watch any of the stuff that was R-rated or had nudity and stuff like that. And obviously we'll watch the cut versions so we don't get any of that. But so yeah, we don't want to promote anything bad. No, I'm not watching the contortion horror movies. Absolutely not. No. No. There will be nothing with possession. There will be nothing with contortion. Although it's so funny because I watched Stranger Things and none of that bothered me. None of it.
I was gonna ask if any of that bothered you.
Where they all went all in. Nope. None of that bothered me. So it must just be. You know what I think a lot of it is? the rolled over white eyes.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of what it is, because Linda Blair in the original one had that, and I think that just freaks me out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, could be something we got. Swackfan says Steve is frighteningly dope. Yeah. Well, and you know what? The Thanksgiving Day movie. Hey, why not? We've had April Fool's Day. We've had Silent Night, Deadly Night. We've had Halloween. We've had New Year's Day. There's a New Year's Day slasher movie. We've had a lot of these for almost every holiday out there. So why not Thanksgiving? Why not? Let's go. All right. Ms. and okay, people are getting to the yes. People are getting to the number ones. Let's go to our number one. Jeff, what was your number one moment of the week?
Well, I'm not gonna belabor it. I'm just gonna agree with just about everything you said. With about Crazy Steve, but honestly, just seeing the changes in his character and seeing the presentation of his entrance, his new entrance, his theme music, absolute banger.
Yep.
The mask, and like Joe said, I mean, honestly, when you look at him take off the mask, it's like you have a darker version of the man emerging from the mouth of this beast.
Yep.
Almost. So it's really cool. If you're into that kind of stuff, go look it up. Yeah, that's
how he comes in initially when you see the door. Oh,
it's tremendous. Yeah, it's tremendous.
Good.
So go check it out. Go check it out if you get a chance. Yeah, and I mean, maybe if you haven't watched Impact before and you're into the horror stuff and supernatural stuff, maybe taking a look at this might get you to watch Impact Wrestling. So
yep, absolutely. My number one, and I talked about it earlier in the show too. I was a huge fan growing up of the IC title. I was very saddened when it became kind of irrelevant, and that whole match between Gunther and Gable was tremendous. And I love the nostalgia. I love the look back. I love the pictures of all the past champions that they honored during the show. And I love the fact that Gunther was able to beat Honky Tonk Man's record and take that for himself. But that whole thing was brilliantly done. And, down to the children with the actual emotion, sad because their dad lost. That was not faked. You can't fake that from kids like that age. They were genuinely sad because their dad lost. Heartbreaking. And yet, again, just a brilliant story. And, people said, well, why not on a pay-per-view? It didn't need to be. It didn't need to be. Everything doesn't have to be waiting for a pay-per-view anymore. That's kind of old school thinking. They don't have to do that all the time. Sure, you want big matches on PLEs, right? But it doesn't always have to wait for that. And I think the way they did this, the way they went about it, there was never a time during that match when I had doubted that Gable could win because of the storyline and how good. There's no way they're going to have Gable win, right? Gunther has to beat the record. So, but as I'm going through and watching, that thought started to leave my head, thinking that could he win this here? Could he really win this? Because there were times when he got him in the ankle lock and stuff, it seemed like he might have made him tap. So brilliantly done. Whoever did the producing of this match backstage, kudos to them. I know that Sean Ross Sapp releases that as to who produces all the matches. I didn't see it, but brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I give all the kudos to WWE for doing it that way. I loved it, absolutely loved it. So that was my number one. Derek says Miz versus You Can't See Me, timed with Gunther and Gable. Gunther and Chad Gable, says Alexa Bliss. Grindhouse, Rose McGowan with a machine gun. Like, that's a great movie. I love both of those. I love that. And what was the other one? Kurt Russell in the car. Love that.
Yeah, there was Planet Terror and Gosh, what's the
I
name of the one
know.
with
Now
Kurt
I've
Russell?
seen it so many times
Um,
too, and now I can't remember.
hold on, I'm gonna
Um,
find it. I'm gonna find it.
yeah, you got to look that up. That was a great one. I love that. Kurt Russell played a great part in that. My number one Impact Celebrity 1000 shows. You need to watch Carry On Screaming. Number one A PCO versus Bully. Oh, yeah, dude, that was so much fun. And 1B LA Knight and Paul Heyman. The tease of EO Sky and Oscar, says James Grant. That's a good call. Yeah,
Thank you, Tom. Say Death
we all,
Proof.
what's Death Proof? So good. If you haven't seen those, they're tremendous.
Yeah, great.
But EO Sky and Oscar, we've been wanting that for a while. That's going to be interesting. How are they going to do their promos? That's going to be really fun. How do they do promos with them? We saw them kind of go like clap at one another inside the ring at one point that one time, but that's going to be great. I'm in for that. Jordan versus Deanna in Victory Road, and Danielson versus Stark strap match at All Out. Jordan versus Deanna. Jordan overcoming that, finally beating Deanna Purrazzo. Yeah, it was great. The All Out crowd not hijacking the show, plus the creative meat chants during the Miro Hobbs match as bonus, baby. That Crazy Steve is not just floating around on our roster. He's a major player and so talented. If Gable's daughter was faking, give that girl an Oscar. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Crazy Steve now must have the extra Z. Have a 1A and 1B. My 1A is Gunther and the IC longest reigning title. My 1B was seeing NWA champion EC3 in OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling. Yeah, nice shout out. Sean Rousset, Death Proof, thank you. Number one, Braun Breaker smashes Von Wagner in the head, says Tazzy. Not surprising in an NXT moment coming from Tazzy. We know Oscar will scream, Maka, that's for sure, says James Grant. So there you go. Our three favorite moments of the week from a pretty good week of wrestling. A lot of good stuff going on this week in wrestling. So, all right, what have we got left here? I think I don't think we really have any what to watch for us because I don't think really anything going on this week. Yeah, so it's kind of a quiet week in wrestling actually. So we are going to move on. I have not seen Jessie at all, so I'm assuming she's busy. So
Well,
yeah.
Joe, let me ask you this before we go, just because
Sure.
I want to end this thing on a funny note and a high note. What's a moment during the week, a moment during the wrestling week that made you laugh?
Oh gosh.
Same question to the chat. Moment during the wrestling week that made you laugh.
I think I would have two pretty much that would stand out. The Miz fighting the Invisible Man. That one I was kind of cracking up. So funny how he did it, and it takes a special dude, an actor of his caliber to do that because that's not easy. You're basically fighting air, and you're and then of course when he's looking at him and he says now get out of here, and he's waiting a little bit from as if he was really there. That was very well done by him. And then the other one, Joya, baby. Joya, baby. I love everything about Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is that man could put you in a good mood no matter what it is. He does tremendous stuff, and this tag team with him and Yuya is going to be fantastic. And the two of them, they just make you chuckle when they come down in their tidy whitey shorts that they're wearing from the 80s, and they do that whole thing with their hands, and they sync dance together. Oh God, so good. But they were the two things that made me chuckle during the week. And again, listen, as I said, wrestling, horror is great in wrestling because it's pop culture. Laughing is even better in wrestling too. Because and Santino too. That's a great call out too. Yep. Santino's just fantastic with that stuff as well. What he does when he got mad, when he got angry, and he starts to get fired up, and then you see the Cobra coming out. Oh my gosh! Some people have that gift; they can just make people laugh, and it's amazing. Miz, you can't stand the dude, but he makes you laugh, and he's good at what he does. So yeah, that great, all great, but they were my two favorite. Jeff, what were yours?
So I've definitely got to go with the Miz TV segment because that was just comedic gold. I didn't think he was actually gonna do the skull crushing finale, but he did.
Yep.
Just made it better. Honestly, a couple of Bully Ray's selling jobs really made me laugh. Um,
Oh, yes.
it's not really easy to sell a cheese grater to the McNuggets. Um,
Yes, yep. I think I put that one out of my mind purposely. But yes,
but
yeah, he did that.
as we discussed during the watch along, his McNuggets got zested um, by the cheese grater.
We
So
got a credit. Who said zested? Was it Deanna or was that Heather? I can't
I don't
remember.
know.
One of them said zested,
Yeah,
which was hilarious.
hilarious. But
Yeah.
yeah, he got them zested. Um, and the way he sold the stinking Cobra
Oh
was
my God.
tremendous.
For
Was
all the years
absolutely tremendous.
Santino's done that, Jeff, I think that was the best ever to sell that move.
It's him and JTG.
Yes,
The
yes, yes, yes.
JTG sell is pretty darn epic,
Yeah,
but Bully selling was pretty darn epic too. So, it was good. It was
yeah,
good.
yeah. It was.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, and then yeah, Joya. Although they did make me a tiny bit uncomfortable, just because I didn't want them to have any wardrobe
Oh, yeah. A
malfunctions.
wardrobe blowout. Yes.
Um, Speaking as someone who had an unfortunate wardrobe malfunction at one point, I do not want to see that happen to other people. So, luckily, I wasn't in front of a lot of people when that happened. But um, yeah, just make sure you wear sufficient clothing underneath clothing in case it splits. Is all I'll say.
I've heard that story from Jeff. That's hilarious. You might have to go into some. Well, he can't really go into much detail because
Not much detail, but
but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you can imagine where he's going with it. That yeah, he told me that story before and I cracked up. But yeah, man. C says moment of the week that made me smile uncontrollably though. Jesse not turning up for Callan Corner. The world can smile a little larger tonight.
You know what? I have to play for that.
Oh, love it. The end of PCO versus Bully match where they struggled with the broken table. That was great too. The table
That
had
was
bent so badly on the bottom corner of the leg that they couldn't get it up. They were trying to put the table back over so they could do a spot through it, and both of them, tried to go over and make it look like they were just trying to set it up. Nope, fell back down. Set it up. Nope, fell back down. And finally, they gave up. There's just the PCO finally carried it, and like, I'm just going to put it in the corner.
and they
There was
finally went
nothing to
through it.
do.
But
But it was great, man. Miz versus John Cena, Ruby Soho to Saraya. I saw Tony Storm in the parking lot earlier, half naked and throwing shoes at birds, but she'll be fine. Yeah, that's great. Chad Gable versus Gunther is a solid rivalry. Vaughn and Braun cliffhanger. Wrestling is entertainment, guys, and this is what it should be. It should be making us laugh. It should be making us maybe a little afraid or a little cringy at things. This is what movies do. This is what TV does. It's escapism. It takes us away and it makes us smile and it makes us have fun and it makes us remember good times and stuff like that. And that's indeed what it should be. Going back to Jeff's grievance, it shouldn't be about drama. It shouldn't be about yelling and screaming at one another on the internet. It shouldn't be about spoilers, blowing things for people because then they're not going to be excited when they see it. Wrestling should be a good thing, and that's why we talk about favorite moments, and that's why we talk about lighter side and do that kind of stuff because this is fun. And that's where we're going to leave it for tonight. So always great to do this show. Absolutely love doing this. Again, I say it a lot, but this is where we started. And going back to our roots of doing just a podcast and talking to you guys about wrestling is what we did this for from the very beginning. So big shout out to all of you who were here tonight that came out to watch. We really appreciate you. Please make sure you drop a like on the stream for us. Please make sure you sub if you haven't already. And also hit the notification bell to be notified about when we have future content. Now, nothing tomorrow, guys. We will be back on Thursday for Impact Wrestling. The 1000 show, man. Please come out. please come out. I will challenge any of you to come out and check it out. Pay the 99 cents. If you haven't seen it, haven't watched Impact in a while, haven't watched TNA, pay the 99 cents and watch it just for that week. Come out and check it out. You won't be sorry. It's wrestling at its best, and it's going to be so filled with nostalgia. It's going to be a wonderful show. So please come out and join us for that. If we find out they're going to start something a little early, we might start at 7:30. So keep an eye on our Twitter. Obviously, we're on every form of social media. On Twitter, or X, as they like to call it now. We're on Facebook. We have a Facebook group. We are on Instagram. We actually even have a TikTok. And of course, we're on, of course, YouTube as well. Of course, this channel here. And Twitch. Don't forget about Twitch. We're there too. We get a lot of people that do come over from Twitch, which we appreciate. So we appreciate all of you coming out. The members to come out and to be members of our channel. We appreciate you as well. So that said, please make sure you check out Tazzy's channel for NXT on Tuesday. Tazzy is making some changes. So those of you that are used to, make sure you check out his Twitter post. And he's actually tomorrow, I believe, he's going to let you know about what those changes are going to be. So make sure that you check him out as well. That's going to do it for us for tonight. Have a great rest of your night, all. Please stay safe. Please be kind to one another. It's so important. I can't express that enough. And again, remember, tomorrow, for those of you who are living in the States, please, it is 9/11. And again, it's just that hashtag never forget. The people who passed and the people who helped during that just horrible time. So have a great one, guys, and we will see you hopefully on our next show. We'll talk to you soon. Good night, everyone.